Welcome to the yard where sports and faith collide. My name is Marcus Preciado. I'm your host, and we've got Jefferson Drexler over there. How you doing, Jefferson?
I'm doing real good, Marcus. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, absolutely. We're here live from the Christian Podcast Center Studios here in San Diego. We want to thank them very much for having us. But let's get right into it. I want to talk about the first five, Jefferson. I want to talk about the first five things of last week's sports world that jumped out at me. And feel free to dive in and chime in as I tell you these. One thing that jumped out at me is the Dodgers clinched their division. Any thoughts on that?
You know, it couldn't happen to a better team if it were, say, 1978, 1980. That's when I loved the boys in blue.
Yeah. Well, as we
No, but they are are they ahead of the curve?
Yeah. You know, it's a long time coming. I think they're going to win the World Series this year, and the Dodgers are, as we like to call them where I'm from, Los Doyers.
Doyers.
Right? Los Doyers, I think, are going to win it all. The second thing that jumped out at me, I hate to say this, but BYU looked really good beating USC. Ooh. And I can't stand BYU, and I don't like USC. But BYU coming off that victory against Tennessee the week before and now beating USC, they are looking good.
Okay, but was it BYU looking that great, or was it USC doing the USC thing?
Yeah, you know what? I thought after USC beat Stanford last week with that new freshman quarterback, I thought that he was kind of going to be the answer for them moving into having a real strong season. So I don't think USC is that great. So it could be that it was more USC not looking great, but I'll tell you what, BYU does look good. They're formidable, and they're going to be hard to beat. Another thing that jumped out at me was UCF, University of Central Florida. You know, these guys are playing with a huge chip on their shoulders. And I'll tell you what, the big boys went in this week, Stanford, and they got their butts kicked. And UCF, man, they are not only on the map, but I think they're going to be in contention for the national championship this year.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It is. You heard it here first.
Right here.
You heard it here first. I'll tell you what.
Because nobody else is saying that.
No, I'm telling you, those guys can play. They haven't lost a home game, I think, 4 years or so, and haven't lost in about 2 years. So, hot take right there. UCF is going to be in the playoffs. Here's the fourth thing that jumped out at me this past week is that the AFC race is over.
Yes, it is.
It's in between the Patriots and the Chiefs. All their teams don't matter. Man, the Pats look great. They keep doing their thing. And the Chiefs, man, that juggernaut of a quarterback, Mahomes, is ridiculous. And it's sad 2 weeks into the season that pretty much the AFC race is done for.
Yep. Cut to all the fans in Indianapolis and Jacksonville saying, hey, don't forget us. We're still in this.
Yeah, they got to play the games. But I tell you what, man, you can mark this tape. It's coming down. That AFC championship is going to be between the Pats and the Chiefs. The last of the first five, what really stood out to me this weekend, man, was just how set up the NFL is in a good spot for the future with their young quarterbacks. I mean, these young quarterbacks are no joke. We got Lamar Jackson that last year they were wondering, is he a pretender? Is he going to be just a mobile quarterback? Or are they going to make the adjustment? But my goodness, he looks amazing. Dak Prescott, who has so many doubters and haters, but, man, he's looking good. He's looking good with a great team, great running game, great defense. And you know what? He wins. We got Kyler Murray, who played well, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, and the NFL is set up nicely for the future when it comes to young quarterbacks.
No doubt.
Hey, this is where we're going to get to our section of joy and pain.
Here we go. Joy. Come on. Here we go. Pain.
Oh, yeah,
Pump it up. Sunshine. Yeah. And rain.
Hey, each week we're going to introduce this segment, Joy and Pain, and we're going to talk briefly about some things that caused us joy and something that caused us pain throughout the week. And for me, the joy, I'm going to continue on this thread, Jefferson. It's the Antonio Brown and the Patriots story.
Is that still a story?
It's still
People are still talking about that?
This guy, I tell you what. And here's the deal. I don't really care for him, and I'm not a Patriots fan. So why does it bring me so much joy?
I have no idea.
This is why. The story, man.
You and your soap operas.
Listen,
You're Marcus the telenovela fashionista.
listen, the better they become, the bigger fall they're going to have, right? The more dependent they become on him, when they fall apart, it's going to be awesome. And if they don't, what a crazy story. So I love this Telemundo novela that's going on. I'm in. I got all my chips in. I'm watching it. I'm loving it. And either way, it's going to turn out great because there's going to be fireworks either way. Either he's going to assimilate into the Patriots way, right? Or there's going to be some blow up, some flare out pretty soon that we're all going to be talking about. So that was my joy.
Now, did you see Coach Belichick's comments after the game?
So funny,
Oh my goodness! To hear him ask specifically, "Hey, what do you know? What do you think? What can you say about Antonio Brown?" We got a lot of things we got to work on.
Yeah,
got good players.
Yeah, you ask me a question, I'll be Belichick. This.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Coach. To that note, hey, Coach. What do we know about Antonio Brown? What can you tell us about what's going on in the locker room with him?
We got a lot of players on this team, and a lot of them play on Sunday football.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah. He's crazy, dude. I love he's so generic, and he does not address it, man. I love his press conferences. He could do like a seminar, like how to provide an engaging press conference seminar. Could you imagine him?
You know what he reminds me of? When I was a kid and you'd get the racquetball and just throw it up against the racquetball wall or tennis ball and just throw it back and try to catch it. Throw it back and try to catch it. He's the wall that you throw it at and it just sucks it in like it's made a big pillow. It's like the press is throwing him these hard questions. He's like, no answer.
And you know what makes me laugh is these people of the media come up with these great questions. Do they really think there's any chance that he's going to answer them? Right? They stay up all night. They're ready. This is a good one. This is very insightful. And there's no chance he even comes close to answering them.
Never ever.
So my joy is the Antonio Brown Patriots story. Here's my pain. My pain are the injuries that occurred, and no pun intended, to Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees. You know, those two iconic quarterbacks out for the, Ben is out for the year and Drew Brees at least 6 weeks. That just really dilutes the NFL competition and the story that's going on this year. So what about you, man? What's your joy and pain?
All right. So I'm going to start with pain. And it's confusing to me because I'm used after all these years to see the Browns in this role, not Miami. And the Miami Dolphins, they entered the fourth quarter through 3 full quarters of football with a whopping 38 yards of total offense.
That's crazy, man.
If you're living in Florida, I mean, do you even watch these games? Do you recognize you were just hit with a hurricane. You've got all this other, you got Disney World. You got everything going on. 38 yards of offense.
You know, it's obvious that they're tanking, and they want to, I think they want to get a good QB, but I don't think tanking works in NFL. It's such a team-driven sport. If you do that in the NBA, you can pick up a guy and you can change the dynamics of your season the very next season. But you can't do that. If you've got a great quarterback, let's assume, right, let's play this game, that they pick up a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback next year, which isn't going to happen, right? But let's just assume the very best wishes, the very best dreams come true, and they got that. You know what? If you don't have an offensive line, you don't have anything. So tanking doesn't help.
Well, and tanking can work in the NBA because you've got 5 guys out on the court. And how are you going to get 50 guys to tank simultaneously?
Yeah.
You can't get an entire, because those players can't be tanking, right?
No, and they're not playing less hard. They're not trying less, Jefferson. It's just they don't have the players. They don't have the support to win. Winning starts at the top, especially at football. It starts with leadership down. And they're not built to win, and they're not going to win. I agree with you. That's painful. What about
That is painful.
What about
so
your joy?
Here's my joy. Tell me if you've heard of this guy, because he's a stud among studs. Jimmy Murphy.
Jimmy Murphy.
Heard of him?
I think that sounds like one of my son's friends, Jimmy Murphy.
He might be.
Yeah, everybody knows a Jimmy Murphy.
Just down the block, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy Murphy of the University of Miami. This guy, he speaks to my heart. He's 5'7", weighs 195 pounds. This
Wow.
kid is me. Actually, I got him by an inch, so I could be playing for the U. Dude has he's a red shirt. I'm sure not a red shirt. I'm sorry. He's a walk-on. He has played in the practice squad, multiple positions, dying to get on the field. Finally gets on against the celebrated Bethune-Cookman University,
Ooh, yes.
the other BCU.
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough.
He gets in, he scores a touchdown from the 4-yard line, runs it in, bounces off, and runs out the outside, giving the Hurricanes a 62-0 lead.
Nice. Oh, good old Jimmy.
Without Jimmy, now this is what came to mind for me, and it's a story, or it's a logic, I should say, that my son came to me with when he was low man on the totem pole on one of his teams. He would only get in if they were being slaughtered or if they were slaughtering.
Yeah.
That's the hard truth. But in his mind, he's like, Dad, I got this thing figured out. Why doesn't the coach put me in, start me every game, play me all game? Because every game I get in, we're winning by 10, 12 goals.
Okay.
I'm looking at Jimmy's point of view going, dude, put me in coach.
So what's his last
We'll
name?
win.
It's Jimmy.
Jimmy
who?
Murphy.
Jimmy Murphy. All right, I'm gonna.
At least this week, he's a running back for the U.
Nice.
And yeah, to see this guy celebrate, he went full Rod Tidwell. He was doing front handsprings. He jumped up on the table, was going nuts to the crowd. This is the greatest moment in this guy's life, and it was so fun to watch him.
You know what I love about those stories is that the student body gets behind guys
Totally.
like that as well. And yeah, that's a great story. And speaking of great stories, stay tuned because pretty soon we are going to be talking to a guy that has a great story. He's an NFL former kicker. He is now an intern special team coach for the Chargers. Nick Novak's going to come and share his experience as a coach and as an NFL guy and as well as his love for the Lord. So we'll be talking to Nick here pretty soon. But before we get into that, I'm really looking forward to something this weekend. Do you know what that is, Jefferson?
Talk to me.
All right, so it's cool. Okay, here's the deal. I played football at San Diego State back in 1990, and
Did they use real footballs then, or was that?
Yeah,
were they still using like real cowhide?
you know what? It's crazy. It's crazy because my son plays football at Stanford right now, and he's a freshman. He's a wide receiver, and the amount of swag and the amount of love they get and food is crazy. And I compare it to my days at San Diego State, and it's really, really sad. But while I was at State, I never thought that I would get an invitation like this. So this Saturday, I get to do the, not the devotion, I get to do the pregame chapel. I get to do the pregame chapel for the team. They're going to take on Utah State. So I go in, I get to point them to the Lord, encourage them, pray for them, get some tickets to the game. So I'm super excited about this weekend giving the chapel to the Aztecs.
How cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But anybody knows you, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. You're Marcus, we watch you, we talk to you, you ooze that not just encouragement, but as you said, encouraging somebody while guiding them to the path that God wants them for their life.
You know what? That's funny because I never thought when I was playing football at State that I'd come in and give a chapel. I was not the guy I am now. The Lord was not my priority, Jefferson. And man, it's just, I have story after story of just craziness, that if you looked at that story, you would never go, oh yeah, this guy will be doing chapel one time. One comes to my mind. It's one of the tamer ones, but this is my freshman year. Okay. 1990, San Diego State. And we're about, 4 or 5 games into the season. And after every game on the road, people would take stuff, or you could call it stealing, I guess.
You could.
You could call it stealing when you take stuff that's not yours.
That doesn't belong to you?
Right. But, okay, there was the typical things. What would you expect to take from a hotel room, a nice hotel room, right? A pillow, perhaps. right?
Yeah, bathrobes.
A towel, a bathrobe now, maybe some slippers. So here's the deal. About 5 weeks into the season, every hotel that we've stayed at has contacted our coach, Coach Al Luganbill, and has told them, hey, look, we're missing all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of stuff are being stolen. So our coach was upset with us because we lost one, and now we're in the airport, right? And guys would take their travel bags empty, Jefferson. We had these travel bags. We'd take it empty because we wanted to bring them back home filled. Right? So it was so funny. We'd go to a place empty, and then on the plane, you see all these bags filled to the brim. Now, this is 5-6 weeks into the season. At that point, my friend and I, Damon Pieri, he was my roommate. He was a free safety. And we had a plan. I would take home some pillows, and he would take home some towels. And at the end of the road trip, we'd divvy up the booty. Right? He'd give me some of his towels. I'd give him some pillows. And so we had a nice supply of plush pillows and towels. We were on a budget. So 6 weeks into the season, we decide, you know what? We don't need any pillows and towels because we have sufficient. Well, it was that week that we stopped taking those pillows and towels that our coach started randomly calling out people in the airport. So I want you to see this. I want you to see like 75 guys, right? In this airport, in this corner, and our coach going ballistic, calling people by name and telling them to bring their travel bag and open it up and dump it out.
Oh.
So what started happening is that he'd call somebody, you open up the bag, and of course you see a pillow, you see some towels, big deal. But then the mound started growing. and now,
hotel chain.
and now the airport, everybody at the airport is watching this comedy show as Al Luganbill is going crazy. Now people start pulling out artwork. Like artwork that doesn't even match the motif of their dorm because their dorm has no motif. Like some random picture of like a horse in a field. Now, that's bad. But then you see this pile of remote controls. Remote controls to devices that I guarantee you doesn't work. All right? It gets worse. Comforters.
Ew.
Shower curtains full of mildew. There's about a 5-foot pile of all this stuff. And as the coach is going crazy, we're laughing, right? And then finally, he pulls out a shower mat, a dirty shower mat, and he lifts it up in the air and he shakes it. And he goes, you guys can buy this for 99 cents at Thrifty's. You hoodlums and you thugs. And so that was one of my favorite stories of the infamous pile of random hotel stuff in the middle of some hotels, in the middle of some airport somewhere that I think to this day is still there as a memento to our 1990 season.
Well, who's going to touch it?
You just let it be.
So you went from kleptomaniac to chaplain.
Yeah. And so that's why, as I'm going to be sharing with the Aztec team this Saturday, it's extra special to me because, to think back on who I was before I really focused on living my life for the Lord and to think about how good he's been to me now and a chance to share my heart with these guys, man, is really important. I'm super excited about it. So that's happening this Saturday. But happening here in a couple minutes, we're going to have Nick Novak, former NFL kicker, current Chargers coach, join us. We're going to talk a little bit of sports, a little bit of faith. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome everybody back to the show, back to the yard. Hey, here in the yard we have a good friend of mine, Nick Novak. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm out here in San Diego just running some errands today.
If you guys haven't had a chance to get to know Nick is a great guy. He's a former NFL kicker, 6 teams, I believe. Redskins, Cardinals, Chargers, Chiefs, Jets, and Texans. But beyond that, he's just a great, great guy. I've known Nick for a while here, and I know he just recently finished up an internship with this feels weird to say all the time, the Los Angeles Chargers. How did that go, Nick? Catch us up on that.
It was great. I got a chance to work with, first of all, Telesco the GM gave me the opportunity, and so did Coach Lynn, and then Coach Stewart's the special teams coach. So they were all on board letting me come in and get some experience as a coach, and give back with all my experience to the young crew there. We got a second-year kicker in Mike Badgley, and then Cole Mazza is a rookie long snapper, and then Ty Long is a rookie punter. So it was a young group, a great opportunity to be able to share my knowledge with them and just be on the field again. I didn't put the cleats on. I was careful not to. I didn't want to give anybody the wrong ideas, but I was trying to build up that trust and know that I was there to help them. I wasn't trying to take their job.
Hey, isn't Ty Long's number one? Is he number one?
He is number one. Yep.
So his jersey says Long 1, and he's a punter.
He's a punter.
You ever put that together? What a name and jersey for a punter, for it to say Long 1 and for you to be the punter. I mean, that's amazing.
I got to tell him that. I didn't put that together.
Well, see, that's what you need me for, Nick. It's the little things like that, man. Hey, how did it feel to be on the other side of the ball, man? I know, recently, just last year, you were still kicking, and I know it's potentially not over for you. It's still an option, perhaps, for a team to call you, and I know you'd be ready to go. I know you train hard, but how did it feel as an intern to be on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't going to be in training camp this year, I wanted to make the most of my time, be a little proactive in, the next step. So long hours, I can tell you that. I noticed that as a player. Coaches never leave the office. Some sleep in the office, and it's a sacrifice, just like the players make, but it's equally as hard for the coaches, and they may not get probably enough credit for the sacrifice they put in. But being on that side of it, I'm staring at a screen, breaking down film, being very familiar with the schemes on kickoff return, punt return, field goal block, and then really getting to know my kickers and punter fundamentally. But the best part about it is once you hit that field and you're out of the office and you get to run the drills, that was probably my favorite part about being, the whole coaching experience.
Hey, so what would I'd be interested to know, Nick, what would Coach Novak tell a young Novak just out of the University of Maryland, his rookie or sophomore year in the league? What would you tell a young Nick as a coach when you were in that stage of being just a young buck?
I would tell that guy that I don't care how you perform, we're going to roll with you. You're my guy. We believe in you and trust you.
Wow.
And with that confidence you put in the player, trust me, he will do well, and he'll feel that confidence. Because I feel like these guys coming out, they're so tight that if they make one mistake, now the media's talking about them, and it's just that's what I would tell a young guy. Because obviously these guys are very good, and it's between the ears a lot of times. So you got to let them know, man. If they make a mistake, look, man, you're still our guy. But we got to go. We got to pick it up.
Yeah, that's great insight, and you're right, because I think kicking, like free throw shooting, so much of it is mental, right? Because they're capable of doing it, but man, you can see somebody kind of go up in flames if they don't have it right in between the ears, and hearing that encouragement goes a long way, I bet.
Yeah, even pros need it. I know we're expected to be perfect, but obviously no one is, and it's just it is a constant pursuit of perfection. And if you strive for that, obviously you can be very good, but it takes a lot of help, and it takes your coaches and feeling that belief from them.
So did you try to use that philosophy, Nick, as a coach, being more of an encourager as opposed to, back in the day, and I'm sure it's still accurate for the NFL, but, back in the day, coaches would kind of try to break you down emotionally and demean you. Did you kind of go that opposite route of trying to be very encouraging to your kickers?
Well, I wasn't really in a place to do both sides of that. I mean, obviously, when I was as a college athlete and pro, I've experienced both sides of it. Where a coach tears you down and he thinks that helps, and sometimes it does. I I was like, well, why aren't you yelling at me anymore, Coach? Because I would notice that too. And you really, if the coach is on you like that, it shows you that he cares and
Yeah.
that you're capable of more. So there's a fine balance there. But I think never throwing your athlete under the bus or embarrassing him in front of the team. But there's definitely times where you have to motivate them by sometimes yelling at a guy or telling them the truth. And that's all players want to hear too.
And speaking of motivating, I think your Terps could have used some motivation on Saturday. Did you catch any of that game?
Yeah, it was disappointing. I don't know how we go from beating Syracuse like we did, and then we lose. It was. I'm actually going to head to the Penn State game, so I'm excited about that. Leah and I are flying back, my wife and I, and it's the first time going back in a long time, and our schedules match up, so I'm excited. Was hoping for a 3-0 going into that game, but not going to happen. Hopefully they bounce back.
They started off hot, right? They were like one of the top, if not the top, offense in the nation, I think, for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, they scored maybe 170-some points in 2 games. So, I mean, one was against Howard, and then the other Syracuse. Who did we play last week? I'm forgetting, but I can't remember. Do you remember who Maryland played last week?
No, it slips my mind. But I know I was really surprised because obviously being a fan of yours and a friend of yours, I kind of follow Maryland just so I can kind of see what's going on in your mind as they're playing, and I was really anticipating them having a great game, and it was a downer for sure.
I wish I was there to encourage the kicker. He had a rough start, and they put in a backup, and so I wish. Sometimes I wish I could be in 2 places at once, but man, I wish I could go out there and help him out.
Hey, as I mentioned at the top of the interview, you've been with 6 teams, and anybody who's followed your career, Nick, knows that you've had a solid career, man, and you've had record-setting career years for franchises, and you've been at the height of NFL football, living the dream. But I also know along the way there was a detour last year with the upstart Alliance of American Football, playing for Birmingham Iron. How did that feel from being an NFL kicker to now being part of this exciting new football franchise, and how did that compare between the NFL and the Alliance of American Football for you?
I think they put us up for one in a hotel, so that was nice of them to do. And we had training camp down in San Antonio, Texas, in January. So that was for 1 month, and then when the season started in September. And to be honest with you, nothing. Once you hit the field, it really wasn't different than the NFL. I mean, obviously the quality of play was not as high, but you have guys that were bubble guys. I mean, guys that could be special teamers or
Sure.
Our 3rd, 4th string guys, offensive linemen, or just a few guys that may have gotten in trouble or something, and they quite possibly could be a 1st or 2nd stringer in the NFL. They just needed a 2nd, 3rd chance to get back out there and grow up a little bit. So it was a lot of guys looking for redemption, guys. It's just, in the NFL, it's all about numbers. Sometimes maybe you have the talent and it's just not a fit. But you're a camp body. So, I mean, we need leagues like this for guys to get experience and play, because you really can't get better without playing the game. And from that aspect, it was pretty similar. The camaraderie in the locker room was great. I mean, we came together quick. It was a lot like college because we're all living together in this hotel. And it's like, I'm like the elder statesman. So it was cool being really cool. I embraced it, having a leadership role from that aspect, helping the young guys however I could. We started a Bible study, and that brought guys together and just talking about backgrounds, and it was great bonding on that level. And it's a really quick way to get to know your teammates. So we tried to do stuff like that, and it was probably one of the closer locker rooms I've been in, because you're not going home, back to your families. to your apartment by not. So it's we came together quick, and it was fun.
Hey, so you mentioned during that time taking the leadership role. You also mentioned, encouraging players, and you mentioned Bible study. And I know that faith plays a really important role in your life. Why don't you just share with us briefly, Nick, just a little bit about your faith in Jesus, and how that's woven into being a professional athlete and beyond.
Yeah, man, at a young age, my parents they always tried to take us to church. I think Europe, as a parent, I think everyone understands that weekends are full of sporting events, getting in the minivan and going to soccer games, and so sometimes it's difficult to get to a church on Sunday, but whenever we could, we did. And so I got to thank them for instilling that belief, like, who is Jesus? How am I going to believe in a guy that I've never met? And all the things that young people probably ask themselves, or I hear it every day from non-believers, like, what, you believe in Jesus? Like, what are you talking about? So it's just I don't know. I can honestly tell you, I've never doubted him. Never said, hey, I don't believe in this guy, and I've never let anyone else talk me out of it. I can tell you that. And when it comes to sports, you go through some difficult times in sports where you doubt yourself, and your teammates start doubting you, and fans, and you feel, your feelings take over, and you feel like, why am I even doing this anymore? Because you're not performing well. So you could go to some dark places if you don't have, in my opinion, if you don't have that belief, that faith in yourself to dig yourself out of those things, and putting things in perspective. Because we are playing a game. Ultimately, it's not the most important thing in the world, whether you do your job or not. Life goes on, but if my goal was to try to become the best I could, best kicker I could. And when I got to the NFL, I didn't have success right away. So I got cut, and I got back in, got cut. Then had some stability in San Diego with the Chargers when they signed me in 2013. So it was that I was in some dark places. People were telling me to move on, try to find another career, and kicking is already kind of it's like golf, man. You're out there in the driving range, or you're out there in the field by yourself, doing it on your own, trying to get better. And of course, I didn't do it on my own. I had coaches and family and everything else to help me along the way. But man, I thank God for helping me get out of those dark spaces mentally in my life to keep going, keep pursuing this dream that I had, that I was able to do for almost 13 years. And it's all the success on the field that I had, I owe to him, because I never could have gotten those opportunities if I lost faith and trust in myself.
Nick, that's a great response, man. I appreciate it. And it's interesting, kind of as an outsider, because I got to connect with you and kind of be kind of part of your journey along the way here and there. And I just want to tell you, man, almost every time you connected with people that either I introduced you to, or that we had friends in common, or even my family, my son Diego, you're a big inspiration to him. Just taking of your time to just encourage him, help him kick, help him just kind of see real people that are doing it. And, God's been really good to my son Diego, who is a freshman now at Stanford playing football as a wide receiver. But you're part of that journey, man. You're part of that journey of just taking the time, encouraging him. And as well as, man, I can name 10, 15 people that you connected with along the way that know me, that they just have nothing but good things to say of how you encourage them, how humble you are. So I know we tend to kind of beat ourselves up here and there. I know I do, but I want to let you know that on the outside, man, you're making a huge difference. Keep just leading with love, being humble, and we're excited to see what's next for you in this next season, man. So I just want to thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll have you live in studio sometime so we can continue this conversation. But hey, Nick, I appreciate you the way you love your family, the way you love the Lord and your friends, man. And thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Marcus. Yeah, I'm gonna keep track of Diego. Better believe that. And you keep sending me videos and things of him and how he does, because, man, that guy should be out there every weekend.
Well, thanks. We'll catch him on the game here pretty soon, and I'll see you soon at my brother's Chick-fil-A so we can keep this conversation over some good chicken and some free refills on lemonade.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Love you, bro. Thanks for your time.
Love you too. See you.
All right, bye. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for their time today. A special thank you to Nick Novak for sharing a little bit of his story, catching us up on where he is. Hey, so do me a favor, if you're listening to this, which you are, which is a dumb if, because if you're listening to it, if you weren't listening to it, you wouldn't be listening to this. But pray for him. Pray for him and his family as far as what's going on next in Nick's life. And that's one of the reasons I'm kind of excited about the show too, that, hey, we'll be able to, interact, pray. These are real guys, that we can pray for, that we can follow up with. So he doesn't know what's next for him as a kicker, as a coach, as a husband, as a career guy. So pray for Nick when you get a chance. Otherwise, guys, tune in next week. We're going to have another great show. God bless you, and thank you so much for your time.